Today, I'm going to be answering honestly one of the biggest questions I'm getting asked right now. And that question is, are you sober? I've been going on TikTok Live a lot recently. Most days I go on there and I get a lot of good questions on TikTok Live. And one of the biggest ones I'm getting right now is, are you sober? Why did you relapse? What did you relapse on? So I thought it was a good time for me to address that question because, there is a lot of people curious about that side of everything that went on. And first I want to just say thank you for coming back every day and thank you for subscribing to my channel. It means the world to me. And if you drop a like on the video, if you like it, it really helps my channel. So just got to get that out of the way. I'm stalling. You see, I'm stalling before I get into this. So I just left a meeting with my sponsor for 2.5 hours out in his house. And we're on step 1 right now. I've been through the 12 steps twice. This has been my 3rd time round. And a lot of stuff is coming up this time that wasn't in it before. In my other step 1s. And he's been saying something, today was mind-blowing. And some of the things he told me today, he's such a wise guy, he's been through 36 years sober. So, he knows a lot about sobriety and how to navigate life and stuff like that. And he said to me today, he said, feelings are information. And because I was telling him how I think I blew up because I stuffed all my feelings down, and it was like, that is stupid. I don't want to say that feeling. I don't want to say that resentment. I don't want to, most of the things I didn't tell anyone and I didn't want to say because I thought they were stupid and I thought they weren't valid. And I thought, shut up, Stephen, don't talk about that. It's that I minimized all my feelings, but what I didn't realize is that they were piling up. And so all those untalked about feelings I had that I just didn't want to put out there because I didn't want to look childish or pathetic, so all of those stuffed feelings, one on top of the other, on top of the other, on top of the other, over years, just built up and up and up and up, and I was constantly having to press them all down. And he said to me, that's depression, pushing the feelings down. Isn't that crazy? Such a brilliant definition of depression, pushing down those feelings that I never got out. I tend to think that what I've got to say isn't valid in conversations with people. If it's, I don't know what it is. Only in real life, when I'm talking to you guys, I get a lot of stuff out. As I said, even my therapist said I process a lot of stuff in these videos. But in real life, though, I don't tell people how I'm feeling because I minimize it and I think it's stupid, and so I push it all down. So he made me realize today that big breakdown I had was me constantly pushing my feelings down. And he said, he goes scuba diving, and he said, when you're scuba diving, when you let the air out, when you're deep down in the water, there's lots of tiny little bubbles, and they're under the surface. As they rise up to the surface, they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So at the time they reach the surface of the water, they're huge, but they started off as tiny. And he was saying, that's what you've been doing with your feelings. Lots of tiny little feelings you've been not ignoring, don't talk about it. And then they've just risen and risen and risen and risen. And I think that was a big part of what happened to me when I tried to off myself. He said that was all those things you pushed down for years, and you just live in a desperate life of not inauthentic, desperate life where you weren't talking about what was going on. And I think that's why these videos are so important to me, and they've helped me so much, and they're such a huge part of my life now, because this is me talking about all those things that I never talked about. And never talking about them led me to want to kill myself and nearly doing it. And so I'm feeling that there's a lot of other people out there that are in the same position I was in. A lot of little resentments, a lot of little things. You've pushed them all down if you're anything like me, and they're just bubbling under the surface. And if you are experiencing that, please tell someone, because you don't want to get to the point where I got to, where it was just too much. It was too much to hold down, and it was taking all my energy of my life to push them down. So it was taking all my energy to depress myself. So I was obviously depressed. I was pushing all this stuff down, never letting anyone know. So it's helping me by making these videos, but also if I'm going through it, you're going through it. And especially, not being sexist, but especially men. Men don't talk about this stuff, and we don't have those kind of social connections. It's sort of quite surface level with guys, for me anyway. But I'm learning to go deeper with guys and tell them what's going on, and it's been huge. A guy from my meeting a couple of days ago is in his 70s, and he said, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And I said, "Yeah." And he took me out to the car park. We're going to get my car and his car. And he just spent 45 minutes giving me advice about how to get a relationship back after separating. He's been married for 30 years. He's separated after 10, and he's back 20 years married. And he just took time out of his day. It was a beautiful thing that I never experienced that with a man, ever. Never had that experience. It just gave me all this incredible advice, because I said in a meeting I wanted to get back together, and I didn't know. And someone in the meeting was like, "It's not up to you." So it was very weird meeting. And he just took time out of his day. He's like, "You've got to show commitment. You've got to be a man. You've got to be reliable and like a tree next to a flowing river." It was just amazing. And it was almost made me tear up to think this guy, it was so powerful and so beautiful. Something I never experienced. And if you're a guy, if you can find guys like that, you're very, very lucky. And if you can't find guys like that, go to an AA meeting. But I'm not just going to keep, it's not just a guy thing, but I do know that there's an epidemic of young men killing themselves. That's why I wanted to say that part. But we're all human, and we all do this, and it's incredibly dangerous. And I just don't want anyone else to get to that point. So that's been a very long-winded way. Oh, I'm glad I turned around, because look, that was about to go weird. See, that's the first time I've ever turned around with good reason. Wow. So that was a very long-winded, and sorry I got distracted, but that was a very long-winded way of saying I am 8 years sober of drugs and alcohol. That's my chip, 8 years sober. Does it mean I'm sober? No. The reason it doesn't mean I'm sober is because I am not emotionally sober. And being not emotionally sober led to all this happening. So I'm back to the beginning. I'm treating the steps from step 1 to 12 again around emotional sobriety, and codependency is an addiction that I didn't realize I had. So I'm discovering all this new stuff, and then I'm going to make a couple of videos about codependency, because I'm just discovering that. That's crazy. I was pretty codependent, and I never thought I was. So emotional sobriety is a completely separate thing from drugs and alcohol. But I will say that I reached my worst bottom ever with emotions, not drugs or alcohol. They were both bad. I ended up in hospital, mental institutions. I ended up actually dying of an overdose. And none of those were as bad as where I got to with emotional chaos. So it's not to be taken lightly, our emotional life. And, I'm going to have more to report. I'm going to tell you as I go on what this journey is like, because it's a trip. It's the first day today that I realized that it's really around emotions and codependency, my whole program this time. And I've got to work it again from the ground up. But I'm excited because it's hopefully going to mean that I get relief from depression, and I'm a better man as well. All this stuff that I'm learning is, I want to be that man. I want to be like my sponsor, who's incredible. I want to be like him. He's just like He's like a. There was a story about Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash was addicted to drugs, and he went off into a cave for like 2 weeks, got himself off drugs. I don't know if that story is true, but that's an urban myth. And apparently, I saw in a documentary, he came out and he was this stoic man in black. There was just a stoic, archetypal man. And that, I feel, is what I want to be. And I've always had that in my head. I watched that documentary years ago. And I'll never be stoic because I'm always talking about my emotions, which is a good thing. But, stoic for my family and powerful. And stoic, powerful man is my archetype of what I want to be like. And I realized that today as I was driving back. And I feel like my mentor through this has got elements of that. And I really like that. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how I get on. I know you'll be coming on the journey with me because I'm going to be telling you all about it. So it's been a great day, a really interesting day. And now I'm off to look after the kids because Laura's out on a girls' night out tonight, just going to a restaurant with her friends, and I'm going to look after the kiddios. So I better end it there. I love you guys, as always. Come back tomorrow and we will talk about something else. And remember, when I looked round to see if it was recording, and I actually found something that was about to go wrong. So all the times I looked around to see if it was recording paid off today. So that was another good thing that happened. I love you. Let's come back tomorrow and talk about something else.